Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the J Free 906 podcast. Tom, Seth, and Jeff here with you tonight. Hope everybody's doing well. How you guys doing?
Happy to be here.
Doing great as long as power stays on.
Yeah, a little windy there, is it?
Just what you'd notice.
A little windy here, too. I'm hearing it howling outside a little bit.
Yeah, there's an old guy at the end of the street building some kind of big boat. I don't know if it means anything or not.
Oh, we hope everyone is having a great evening tonight. I know we are, and we are going to be talking, of course, we're going to be continuing with the Curse of Oak Island series, and we're going to be talking about season 11, episode number 16, Dark and Stormy, having to do with the hurricane. I thought, and this was something we saw in the preview for last week. Oops, what happened there? I didn't mean to do that.
I'm still here.
Oh, I think I clicked on something accidentally there. Anyway,
how's that for subtle, Seth? I guess we're out of here.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
I do have also wanted to let those who may be watching over on Rumble, because we are live on Rumble as well, that I do have the chat up. We can't see the chat come over from Rumble over to StreamYard or YouTube or anything, but I can see the chat over there now. I do have it up and running. So if anybody wants to chat, I will do my best to include you in at least mention what you're saying over there. If it's show worthy, appreciate that very much for those that are watching over there. And if you'd like to help support the show, there's many ways you can do that. Most are down in the description below. Buying some of the merch, hat like Mr. Seth is wearing there tonight, or a retired shirt that never mind, that's that's
retired and loving it, baby.
Retired and loving it. Yes, sir.
Every night is Friday night and every day is Saturday.
Yeah, one of these days I'll be so fortunate. Well, yeah. Anyway, we wanted to say hello to everybody that has joined us tonight. And as I see some people are already telling us, Deborah, hello from Mount Shasta, California.
Cool.
All right. If you would throw out, there's Mark from Aurora. I don't even know where that is. Oh, Mark from Aurora. So let us know where you're from. We'd love to hear that. Next week, we're going to have Colin on with us. And poor Mr. Seth, he gets a week off next week. So we're going to have Colin on with us next week. He's going to join us. Been a little while, but we like to have him on here occasionally.
I love it when Colin's on.
Yeah, I know. Chatting it up with us. It's always a good time. So, and we do finally have Jeremy Church. I hope it all works out this time, scheduled for the 7th. So March 7th, that should be a Thursday night. I don't have my calendar handy here, but it should be a Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Jeremy Church. Now, he was the man who was there. He is part of Panther Geoscience. He owns that. I think that's his company, Panther Geoscience. He is also, I guess, Eagle Canada. I guess there's something involved with Eagle, with that name, Eagle Canada. I got to double check with him on that. But anyway, Jeremy is going to be here with us the March 7th at 7:30. And he's the guy who did the seismic study in the swamp and in the, up in the Money Pit area. He was also in the boat with Jeremy Burton Cosgrove, and they were being pushed around in the swamp to get some readings there. So we have him coming on March 7th. He had to get some clearances done, and I think that's all in play now. So hopefully we won't have to postpone again. We'll have him on. And for those of you who are interested in the Skinwalker Ranch, we're going to be firing up some shows about that. We're getting closer and closer to their season premiere. So we've got some insider stuff coming up and all of that. It's going to be a lot of fun. So for those of you who okay, Lynn's saying her internet's hope it stays working for you. Yeah. So we hope that any of those of you who are into the Skinwalker Ranch, you guys will check that out with us as we get closer to their season premiere. So for tonight, we are here talking about Dark and Stormy. Another pretty good episode, I thought. There were some interesting things that were brought up this particular time. Covering the stuff in the swamp, which has been yielding some interesting things. Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention the giveaway. We do have some giveaways tonight. Let's do that real quick. I know Linda was just about probably yell at me and tell me that for the giveaways tonight, we have a couple. This looks like a lump of coal. It isn't. This is actually a lead bag seal.
Mhm.
And then we also have, let's see if I can bring this up. I think I got the other picture. Yeah, this here is it's a painting that was done. This is actually a magnet, I believe. That is a from a painting of Rick's tree on Oak Island. The tree that he that's been kind of named Rick's tree. So we got both of these coming together. And Michelle Comlier, she donated those to us. I believe so. So we've got a lead bag seal. I don't know if we have much detail on that. Maybe Linda can help explain a little bit as she when she comes on to do that. We'll do a giveaway for that here in just a little bit. Um, and some really cool stuff that we have for tonight's giveaway. All right. So, dark and stormy. These guys, like I was saying about the swamp, so many interesting things have come out of this swamp lately. Not only
Mhm.
the stone road, the stone pathway, the eye of the swamp, the platform, the ramp. The stone road is so reminiscent of what they took. They went over and they looked in Portugal at the stone road that was over there. It was a common. It wasn't it, Tom? It was kind of a common road building technique of that time from the
Yeah,
Romans.
I think when you look at the way they built the roads back then, I mean, it was no different than, who determined you were going to have a 16-inch center for studs when you built a house, right? It was a pretty common way to build things,
Mm.
and the Portuguese were probably, they get credit for inventing that type of construction method. So it would have been pretty common. It would have been well known. So to
Yep.
say that the Portuguese built the road, it's Portuguese-esque, I guess, but I wouldn't guarantee
Right.
that they built it.
Right. It's the thing that looking at the dates, right, Seth? I mean,
Hmm.
that's kind of the thing that you look at the dates that they found of when it was created by finding wood or organics. That kind of
Hmm.
makes a difference, I think, really, for me anyway.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, and like Tom was saying, I mean, just because it's Portuguese or it's Portuguese-esque, right? So it could be Portuguese methods employed by any number of people. For I was super excited. I feel like the episode should have been called like Stumps and Stones, because it started with the stumps, ends with the Karen stones, and I. To me, I love that we're getting closer and closer to confirming. What did Rick say? I like, me, I'd be like, it's man-made, but Rick was saying it was, there's more and more evidence of meddling. What was the word he used?
Yeah, I forget
Yeah.
the word, but yeah, I know what you mean. That it was
Yeah.
manipulated.
Manipulate.
Manipulated. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Manipulated. Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. He also
I
made reference to last night in the swamp, right? Because I get looking at the pictures and I'm going, you know what? That's a jumble of roots. Like there's no way, in my opinion, that is one forest floor.
Yeah.
And Rick's usually very, very, very careful about his words.
Yes, he is.
mhm.
And twice last night he made mention of layer,
Mhm.
which tells me one group of roots on top of another.
Yep. Yeah.
So, I mean,
That.
that suggests to me the same as we talked about last week, that somebody was working in the woods and building roads and they hauled roots down and threw them in the swamp.
Yep.
That's
And
where the
that's kind of what.
first
Yeah.
layer
I'm
came
sorry. Go
from, in
ahead.
my opinion.
Yeah. Here's my distance shot. Little aerial shot, looking where they're working right there around there. But look at those. That's what Tom was just talking
Mm.
about. And then there's a picture coming up here. But these are the roots, and you see all these in here. And this is what's really cool. I mean, these here, then you got this whole group over here. Here's another one here in the middle. They're all over the place. Um, and
Yeah,
so what? Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, it makes me question if the ship shape anomaly isn't kind of like a jumble of stuff like this, and maybe
I was
even the
thinking the same
charcoal that
thing.
they found. Maybe, yeah, like the charcoal they found too. Maybe even that was from them trying to burn some of this material, and then they were like, "Forget it, let's just cover it."
Mm.
I don't know, but yeah, it kind of made me question because I've
Mhm.
always been excited for them finding a ship, but
Yep.
maybe it's just a bunch of this kind of material.
Because you can see the layer on one of the shots where Billy's doing the
Yeah, I got
claw back thing. You can see the layer of peat in the
Mhm.
middle and the roots underneath it. So that suggests to me that there you go. There's a layer of peat in the back. See the brown going through there? That's peat there. I
Wow.
think that's the peat
Mhm.
right there. So beneath that is one layer of roots. So you throw them into a boggy old swamp. Okay. And over time it fills in with mud or debris or whatever. And your next layer of trees would now be elevated out of the water and grow on top of it.
Yep, exactly.
That's
You know,
my,
and we
my
and we
guess, but I don't know.
yeah, you know, and that's the thing we've talked about. You know, the fact that so many times we reference the fact that is it possible that things, pieces of wood especially, could float in from the ocean? Yes, it is. You know, many of the items that they found are could they have been from a ship right there that was in that area? Yes. Could they have been from in you know like the road? That road
If they were using that as any kind of a dry dock or workspace
exactly
area to repair a ship, take a railing off a ship, you're not going to. What are you going to do with it? You're going to throw it over the side.
right. Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah, if you're doing any kind of repair or anything
Mm.
like that. So that's the reason why we kind of take a step back at this a little bit when they find these wood artifacts in the swamp. And as you've heard them ask, like Gary will often ask Billy, how deep down was that? Because the deeper down it is, the more chance it has been there for a long, long time.
Yep.
But it still could have blown in. It's the consensus, I guess, to say that the swamp was always a marshy area. A lot of people will say it's two different islands and they filled it in. I I don't think that that's the popular idea, at least with the folks on the island. I think that it's pretty much been determined that it's not. It was
Mm.
always a marshy area, kind of a wet
I
area.
think so. Yeah.
And then as the ocean levels rose over the years, what 100 or a foot per 100 years, that now you get more and more water coming in from the ocean and make it
Hmm.
very brackish. And now it's more of a
Hmm.
swamp than it is just a marshy area.
Hmm.
So there you go with those layers. And things are going to get blown in from many shipwrecks and all that. These logs, I mean, these stumps and roots and things that they're finding now kind of seem like they may have come from somewhere close by and either dumped there or I mean, they mentioned a forest. I think Ian, he actually even mentioned something about a forest, but
He said a forest at this location.
right.
Were his exact words. So what does he mean? A forest at this location? Was that the second layer? Maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Or was there a forest at this location where they ripped those steps out and hauled them down a hill?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Now,
imagine they.
go ahead. Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, I imagine they would have had to take out a lot of trees for that road alone.
Hmm.
Exactly. That's where I was going to go next.
Yeah.
If they're building a
Yeah.
road someplace, then yes, they're going to have to remove the trees and stumps from that area. And how do you do that with oxen, right?
You got the band. You got the ox power. So.
You rip them out of the ground
Yep.
with the oxen. And what are you going to do with them? You're not going to, you could just push them off to the side, or you could go dump them nearby somewhere where they'll be out of your way.
Well, if you're trying to not leave any signs behind that you've been there, you're going to take them down and get rid of them.
Yes, there you go. Get down there and get rid of them.
Mhm.
Exactly. So, I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why those stumps could be there. But one of the main things you have to look at is are those stumps in situ?
Correct.
Are they in situ? If that is a stump with a root system in situ, then it probably came from that place. That's where it grew. But if it's not, if you're scooping it up in muck, chances are it didn't grow there.
Hmm.
Especially if it's hardwood. Hardwood doesn't grow well in swamps.
There you
You
go.
could see a willow tree, you could see a spruce tree, you could see, any of those types of, spruce bog type trees, but not hardwood.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So, but it's still important nonetheless because it does mean, and they were axed, they were cut down with an axe.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, that was kind of determined. They did talk about that. So that means that people were there doing stuff. Now, if you could get a date of the tree, that gives you an idea of when that tree was cut down.
Yep.
Close, right? General idea. You're not going to
Plus or
get
minus 100 years, close enough.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So it's still a good idea. Now, we didn't get any dating on these things last night. Hopefully, we will soon. Hey, Dennis. There's Dennis. Haven't seen him around in a while. How you doing, Dennis? Yeah. So those stumps are important nonetheless. And that's the thing we talk about all the time. And we're going to mention it again here in just a little bit. Talking about the wood. They keep finding wood. Oh my gosh. Can't they find anything but wood? Where's the treasure? But this wood is important, and we're going to see why as we go along here in just a little bit. Its importance to the whole thing. Could they have used these stumps as a base to help stabilize the stone road?
Hmm.
Sure.
Yes. Yes, they could have.
Yep. If you've ever had a vehicle stuck in the mud in the woods, throw a bunch of branches and stuff in underneath it, and then fill it full of rocks, and you can maybe jack it up and drive over it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, definitely. But so and I got a couple of pictures here. I just kind of wanted to show, and this is ones that they popped around and show these a little bit. And we talked about this one last week, and this is the big stone or boulder, cone shaped boulder that they found in the swamp on last week's show. That I think are the last couple of weeks they've been working on this particular piece. That I think is very important. We talked about this a little bit, and my opinion was that it was not part of Nolan's cross per se, not part of the actual cross itself. Is it an alignment stone or a marker for something else? Very well could be. And again, I go back to I watched a little video that was done by Dot to Dot. Michael was out there and did a little video, and I think that he kind of he used it in his. Dot to Dot, by the way, is a YouTube channel. You guys can check it out. It's got some really good stuff. And I know he's been working with Zane on some of this. Zane's in the chat here tonight.
Cool. Zane.
Yeah, but been talking about this stone and its importance to maybe identifying exactly where the money pit or the treasure vault is.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you see here in this picture, the thing that I point out, not only do you have the stone right here, but you have this right here.
Yep.
Leading down to the stone. Why would you need to build some sort of a little pathway to take you to where so you could go look at the stone? Oh, look at the stone that's sitting here. Let's go check it out. Let's build a road.
Yeah, let's build a bridge to it. Yeah.
No.
We're not doing anything today. Grab 50 guys, we'll build a bridge.
Yeah, exactly. That's not going to happen. So that well, I'm going to jump out on a limb and say they built this road to put that boulder there.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense.
So is it important? Yes. Jake Roberts. Hey, Jake, how you doing? And Jack's out there too, I guess, right? And Jack said hello.
Hey, Jack.
Good to see you out there, Jack. Really do. And Jake Roberts, Mr. Jake. If for those of you who may not know, Jake has a YouTube channel as well. It's called The Ghost of Bacon. Ghosts of Bacon. And he has some if you like to get into some talk, looking at pictures and decoding these pictures and going through codes and reverse ciphers and all that kind of stuff, Jake is your man. Him and the crowd he works with to go through all this stuff from Bacon is phenomenal, by the way. So go check out Jake in his YouTube channel. I think he also has a Facebook group page called Ghost of Bacon. So check that out because it's really.
He does. He's got a couple of books out that if you're wondering all about these ciphers and what they're all about, they're great resources.
And how it ties to, or could very well tie to, Oak Island. So yeah, really good stuff. So again, and it's really cool how we get together with all these guys. And Jake's been on the show before. I've actually been on Jake's show before. Thank you for that, by the way, Jake. That was a lot of fun. But I felt like I was the student. I'm just sitting in my classroom chair listening to the lecture that was going on because it really was.
Yep.
But it's delivered in such a way that you can understand. So when he's taking you through these things, you can understand what he's talking about if you're paying attention. But you got to pay attention. So
you got to pay attention. Yep.
So, but we appreciate Jake a lot. So anyway,
I'm just trying to learn by absorption.
Yeah, exactly. I know, right? Me too. But it's always a good lesson, and he always has some fantastic stuff. And the people that Jake's got working with him, just wonderful, really, really smart people.
It's pretty impressive what these fellows and girls are coming up with.
Yeah. So check it out. Ghost of Bacon, if you get a chance. You want to go see that. There's a lot of good stuff out there. So, getting back to this here, but the Stone Road, again, like we mentioned, this has to be something that led you out there to that. And that goes back to the Stone Road in the southeast corner of the swamp. Was that built there for like a part of a slipway or something like that, some way to get a small boat, not your ship. Your ship is not going to be pulled up that close to the beach.
No,
it's too shallow anyway. The ship is going to be anchored out. The guys are going to get into their 20-some footer and with the oars, and they're going to paddle their way over to the cargo and personnel and whatever over to the beach. Now you got to get that boat up on something so it doesn't fall over and you can unload it. You need a slipway of some way. And I think
Right.
that's exactly what that stone road was for.
None of that stuff appeared by accident.
No. And we've talked about that before, but I think that's exactly what it's all about there. So, and again, when was it built? Well, Ian and the stone platform that's on the other side of Nolan's Peninsula, Ian found that piece of wood smashed in there, and that wood dated to about 1200. The early dates was 1200. So, who, again, we go back to the who would have possibly been able to do something like that back in 1200s, 13th century.
Yep.
Who do we know?
All part of the timeline.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And who would be capable to do something like this in secret?
In secret. Yeah.
You don't build a road like that for sightseeing or,
it's not a one-time use thing.
No.
No, that's
Templars,
heavy duty.
baby.
Templars. Yeah, I know, right?
Yep.
So, but yeah, and here's a picture real quick. I got this one here. This is medieval, baby. Yeah. You got it, coach. And this is a picture of the platform or part of the platform. This was an older picture that they brought up last night, and I had to show this. Yeah, definitely Roman style engineering. But there's part of that platform that they looked at, and that right here in the ramp area. That was on the north side of Nolan's Peninsula. This would be Nolan's Peninsula, right here, this area here. And this was where the platform and the ramp and all that was. Again, this is where the area was dated in the 1200s. And again, why go through all that effort unless it's something very, very important?
Did you ever notice all the lines in the ground? How is that just left over from when they did that geoblasting with all the cabs?
I think it is. Yeah, you're talking about these lines right here. Yeah, and over here.
I was wondering that too.
Yeah, I think that's leftovers from when they were doing the blasting in the wintertime.
And that's a great question that we'll ask Jeremy when he's on the 7th with us. I think it is, though. I think you're exactly right. Because they had to be able to get in there and drain the swamp and then walk around in that. I can't even imagine trying to walk around in that stuff.
No. Would not be fun.
No, it would not be fun at all.
And Marty keeps getting sucked back in there.
The stinky swamp. That was funny. You heard Gary Drayton talking about who would know what a typical ship's draft used to be? I don't know.
We looked it up one time, and depending on the size and the scope of the ship, it's going to be like 10 plus feet, depending on the size of the ship. The only ship I could ever see actually being any kind of use in there would be a barge, something flat bottomed.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Would have to be, or else you're going to get hung up pretty easily. Just another shot looking at all the roots and the stumps and everything. I mean, just look at them in this picture. They're everywhere. And again, we go back to that, whole thing that I think that over the years, this was a marshy area, but over the years, a lot of this stuff has just filtered in here, and grown, and the depth of the muck has gotten deeper and deeper and deeper over the years.
Yeah.
But you see these stumps and things in there, but it's something they have to do because they keep finding more answers, don't they? So I don't think we're done finding interesting things in the swamp.
No, I agree.
All right, let's jump over to the money pit area and the garden shaft. And again, we know that when was the Hurricane Lee? I think it's Hurricane Lee.
September 11th, 15th, something like that.
Somewhere around
the middle of September.
Yeah. So we figured that's about where we are in showtime right now, but they do a little bit of jumping around, and Tom brought up a very good point. But I wanted to show some of the pictures of what they're doing down there in the garden shaft, and they're bringing down those pieces of more beams and more shoes. In other words, this is to show us that they are continuing to go deeper and deeper into the garden shaft. They're finally getting down in there. They want to get down to 97, 98 feet, I think.
Yeah, they finally get down to about 97. 2 feet, putting them to a depth of 97 feet. Yep.
I'm still waiting for the show where they've got the top of the tunnel that's down there cleared off and you can see the top of it. I'm still waiting for that episode. We haven't seen it yet.
What did Scott say? They were down there digging like tunnel rats or mine rats or something.
Yeah, he
last
said
night?
Marty. Yeah, they the silver fox and brother
Mm.
were down there. They were like tunnel rats once they got down there and got going. Yeah, that was pretty. I thought that was hilarious. Yeah, September 16th. Okay, that's when the hurricane.
The other thing too about what they're doing at the bottom of that shaft now with all the new metal they're putting down there. That, and if you were just going to go down there, mine it, do your thing, and leave, you wouldn't be bothered putting the wood down there, would you?
I don't think so.
Right. So that tells me that they're building this structure to last for a long, long time. And
Nice.
save your tourist dollars, folks, because they're not
Yes.
doing all that woodwork inside just to leave it sit there and nobody ever see it.
No, I tell you
Some
what.
long-term planning there, in my opinion. No
I
one's
think
told
so,
me that, but that's just my guess.
Yeah, the animation that the History Channel did showed the shoe extending into the tunnel by I don't know, I would guess a couple feet. Like, and it made me wonder if that was just the animation or if they actually intend to extend the shoe into the tunnel.
Yeah.
Or just get right
I
up
would
on
say
it and
extend
then
it
open
because
it up.
the diagram you had last week, Jeff, off the bulletin board
Yes.
showed
Oh
the metal shoe
yeah,
going down with the portal
with
in
that opening.
Yeah, it had a big round
Right.
opening in it. So I think they're going to
Well,
go
there
right
you
down
go.
into the tunnel. Now keep in mind that they're offset a little bit. The tunnel is actually running across the northwestern corner, the
Mhm.
north corner of it. So when they go down, they're going to have to do that round and pop into the side of it, I think.
Oh, okay.
And hopefully it's not collapsed is my big hope. I hope at that point right there, it's not collapsed and they can actually
Yeah, because if they're going in from the side, they're not going to be able to hammer grab whatever's in that tunnel out of there.
Oh no, they're gonna have to shovel that out. Yeah,
Ooh.
that's gonna be pick and shovel stuff in there. Yep.
Yep. Somebody was asking about
Now I expect they probably have some kind of a mechanical auger that'll pull a lot of that out for them.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And is that stuff on the wall? This over here is that's just mud, right?
I think that's just mud. Yeah.
Yeah. So they don't have the foam down there. I don't think they need it, but
Or they haven't put it in yet.
yeah, or they haven't put it in yet. Yeah.
Because what did he say last night? What did Roger say last night when they're worried about the hurricane hitting? It's going to look like Niagara Falls down there.
Oh man, but he did say that they're going to keep people. A couple of guys are pumping.
2 people pump it every 2 hours. Yeah.
I hope so because that would be. I mean, think of this, and I know that's what they're worried about safety. Number one, safety of all the people there, but all the stuff that they've gone so far this summer, they've gotten and the delays and setbacks that they've had. Now they have the opportunity. They're actually going, and then here comes a hurricane, and you're thinking, how will this? And you heard even Billy Gerhardt talking about the swamp road, and how thin it is where they did all that digging here previously.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about having to really shore that up so that it doesn't wash it out.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of things to worry about.
There's not much like rocks or stuff in the walls. It all looks like someone I think was it Timmy? He said it's a lot of clay, and do y'all think the side is a lot of clay too? I don't see I don't see rocks.
No, I don't see too many rocks. There was a few, but I don't see too many rocks. But you saw last week there was a couple when Marty and Rick were down there and they were digging in this stuff, and there was a couple.
That's true, yeah.
And he was down there with the crowbar, and he thought one of the things he hit when he was pushing that rod down there was hitting a stone or something. He wasn't sure. But like Tom said, they're putting the shoe. That's the metal part you're seeing here is the shoe, and then they're covering it up with the wood. So they're not going to go back and take it out. So
that's a permanent structure.
It's a permanent structure. So this one's
and
not
going to dress it all up nicely with wood. I mean, that costs money. So you're not going to do that. And it was strictly a mining operation. You don't need the wood.
All right. Let me just see a show of hands from the people in the chat right now. If you have the opportunity to go down in the garden shaft someday in the future, would you go? Show of hands. I'm in. I'm down there. I don't, $100? I'd do it.
Yeah, that would be worth it.
Yep. There's your attraction. The show of hands. So let's see here. We've got yeah, so they're going down. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to the point when they get um interesting. When they show of hands of the everybody's saying they would go. Definitely go. Sorry about that. I got distracted for just a moment there.
Mhm.
Let's see here. Now, this was the when they also did some drilling. I'm jumping ahead over to the actual money pit. We were at the garden shaft seeing what's going on there. I can't wait till they get that all covered off and we get to see more of the top of that the tunnel that runs underneath there. Then they went over and they were drilling into RF1. Now, if you remember, RF1 was the shaft that they found some very interesting items down there. And at one point, they even mentioned this on the show last night that they thought RF1 was actually taking them down into the money pit. They thought it might have something to do with the actual money pit. So they didn't go deep enough. And Marty even said that. And how many times have we, said on the show before, why did you stop short? Keep going. You're not down far enough yet with that, oh, well, let's say it's the time to stop this particular case on and move on. No.
Yeah.
No, it's not. But they
did.
Go ahead. But they did.
But they did.
So this is where I say they stepped back for a moment and went back in time. And Tom brought up a good point as to why. But you see the date on this bag.
Yeah.
And we know they're in September because of hurricane.
Hurricanes around the corner, July. Remember Karen posted some pictures last summer. Choice left the island. So Choice left the island for a period of time. Well, I think it was probably July or August, but they left for 2 or 3 weeks or so. And then they magically reappeared again. So I got a funny feeling this is just some filler that they brought forward from earlier in the summer to show the continuation of the drill program.
Yep. And so I'm not going to berate them for jumping around a little bit because they need to do that. Yeah, it's all good. Still good information. And we know there's so much information that we don't ever get to even see because it never it didn't make the cut for the show. But still, thank you, Tim. That's very nice of you. I would give them money to help. I know. I think a lot of people would too. Yeah. I would pay to let me metal detect or whatever. Yeah. Watched. Renee said watched Choice drilling pulling around September 21st. So there you go.
So
so they were off the island for a little while. So they're jumping back and pulling stuff from previous episodes. And again, but they were hitting some wood down there and they bagged it. So they're definitely going to get this tested and see. I think they pretty much any kind of interesting wood, they send it out and get it tested now to see get a date range on it as best they can. But they hit PVC pipe. A lot of the caissons, I'm sorry, a lot of the drill, the 6-inch boreholes, when they pull the actual casing out, they put down PVC piping in there.
It's got to be a real bummer when you haul that up.
Yeah, once you've hit that, we talked many times. We've talked about how that 6-inch drill casing, as it's going down, if it hits something too hard, it'll veer off. And it could keep going in that direction. And it could walk 10 feet from where they started in some direction below. That's what happened here. They were going along great until they got to, I forget how many feet down this was. 178 feet. And this was borehole F.75-178.
Now, this has happened twice this season now.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't remember that happening in any season prior.
Not that they showed us.
Right.
Yeah, that piece of PCP was from 199 feet.
Yeah, 199 feet. So what does that mean right now? It's going to want to follow it. It's going to want to follow that other path of least resistance, right? So it's going to follow it. So you have to stop at that point. It's probably not going to pop back out of there.
But who was it, Terry or somebody said, but what made it, the question now is what made it bump over?
Exactly. What made it move in the first place?
Yeah, I know that in past they've, the drill operators will give their opinions sometime. I'm curious. I'm sure they did. I'd be curious to hear what they thought it was. If they thought it was a rock or something harder, because History Channel or the show speculated, maybe it was the chapel vault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it
That's
could be any one of a number of things down there. Yeah.
and that is
Yeah.
close. It is pretty close. I saved it, and I know Tom had a picture of this too. He had a snapshot of this spaghetti map. And you see all those lines. If we haven't talked about this enough, I'll mention it again real quick. But you see all those lines. That's the walking of the drill, the drill casing as it's going down.
Yep.
I mean, you see how these go. Like this one right here. I'm just going to point this one out here. Okay. So it started probably up here and it finished way down here. That's like almost 10 feet that it walked underground from the top to the bottom. So,
but it even shows just by your red circle there, the wording just to the bottom right-hand corner that says solution channel.
Yeah, right here.
Right here, solution channel.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So, I mean, even how they do put a gyro down. They do it and they go down and so they can see exactly. They don't stop it. I think they wait until it's done. They pull the casing or pull the drill out, and then they run the gyro down there every 10 feet and get a look and see exactly where the drill actually went. So that way they know for sure where it went. So when they find that wood at 100 feet or 200 feet or whatever, they know exactly where the drill was at that point. So that's the reason why they put the gyro down and find out exactly where it is.
I can remember when we were out for supper with Steve and a few of the guys down there. We asked Henry and I specifically asked him, like, haven't you got the money pit like drilled to pieces? Like there can't be anything left to drill. And that's when he was telling us about the drill walking. And he said there's places down there. He said you could put a small car. He said because we know the drill has walked away from them, and for some reason the drill's not going in that area.
Yeah,
but they didn't know why.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that was a good point there. True Seeker put up if the drill is only off by 1 or 2 degrees at 190 feet, that would be more like 30 or 40 degrees off the tip of the drill. Exactly. Yep. Very good point. So how, and if they didn't do this, the gyro, then they would really never know, where it was at the bottom. You'd really never know. So if you're hitting an open void down below, you wouldn't know exactly where the void was because almost every single one of these drills walk at some point to some degree, almost every single one. You see some of them here at the top, that didn't walk that far, but they all do a little. So none of them, I don't think, go straight down.
No.
So that's something you have to know. You have to know the whereabouts of your drill head as it goes down, so you know what you're hitting or where you're at when you do hit something, I should say. So very good information. So, all right, let's. Is this where we decided we were going to do the spinneroo, the giveaway? I think so. All right. Still dealing with a sinus infection a little bit, folks. Pardon that. All right, let's get back over here. And again, I'll bring up those pictures real quick. We do have it's a lead bag seal. Believe it or not, that is a piece of lead. Even though it doesn't really resemble that now. And also this, you said this is a magnet. Is this like 3 by 4?
It is a magnet. Michelle made this painting of Rick's tree. She's been on the island a number of times. And she painted the tree. And this is a picture that she took of her painting and turned it into a magnet.
Yeah, this is really cool. And do we have much information on the lead bag seal? Like
just that it's English. That's all I have.
Okay.
Michelle may have other information, but I don't.
Yeah, still very, very cool. All right. So we're going to give those away tonight on the show. We're going to do a little spinneroo. For those of you who have already heard, sorry about this, but I am going to repeat this. So what we do is we have a giveaway. It started a while back. We have a giveaway every week. And to be eligible for this giveaway, you need to be a member of our Facebook group page, which is the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. There's a link for it down below. And what you do is Linda will put out Probably like tomorrow, she'll put out the post for next week's giveaway. And you just do a comment in that post saying yes. That's all you got to do. It has to be in that post. Just comment yes. That makes you eligible. Your name will be added to the spin so that you could get a chance to win that. You can only win once, right? We don't know except until the end.
Till the
Until
end.
the finale, and then anybody is welcome. So those of you who have already won, but who are still putting your name in there,
Nice try.
we're not putting an emoji after your name, and we're not putting you on the spinner.
Yeah, sorry. You only get one chance. We want other people to get a chance to win something because we have had one person win a couple of times. So it's not,
Yeah.
we want more people, everybody get a chance to win something. So, but we really appreciate all the things that have been donated from folks viewing the show. We really appreciate that so very much.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
It really, truly is.
It
And things
is.
like this. I mean, this lead
And
bag sale.
Seth,
So cool.
next week we have something from Seth.
Oh, really? Ah.
Second will be in next week.
That yet?
What's that?
I think I sent you a picture,
Oh,
Linda,
okay. I
couple.
think so. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
the other day. But yeah,
All right.
that'll be.
If not, I'll just make something up.
No, I'll double check.
It's
And-
okay.
And
Okay.
one last thing is you must be eligible to win.
Right.
I
You
mean,
have
you
to
must
be
be
here.
to be eligible to win. You must be present at the podcast. So we give you a little bit of time. All right, you ready?
Yep. I'm ready.
All right, let's put you up there in solo and let's do the spin. Wow, a lot of names in there this time. Hey, Zane!
Yeah.
Oh,
Zane.
Zane! Oh my gosh, look at that. Zane got it. We know he's
Nice.
here. 'Cause he
We
just-
know he's here. Oh my goodness.
Are we sure?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
It's not
There
the
you
penalty
go.
box again or anything. Okay. Yeah.
That's really cool. All right, congratulations, Zane. I got a
Nice.
couple of his pieces of work, works of art that I'm going to bring up here in just a little bit later in the show because Zane is. I think I got him on to a new passion of doing overlays and whatnot. So yeah, off he goes. So he's been doing some really cool stuff for us. But all right, congratulations, thank you, Linda.
Yes. Next week, it's one of Seth's journals.
Ah, you mean
Yeah,
like
it will be a leather
this
journal.
one here?
It's similar to that.
Similar
Mhm.
to this one here? Yeah.
Similar to that.
Yeah,
I love this thing.
it's
That's
a
my
little
journal
bit
that he gave me.
smaller and it's black leather. But I'll make sure Linda has a picture of it for everybody to see. Yeah, it's like
All
my
right.
little travel. It's my little travel journal. I call it.
Nice.
There's a
Nice.
bunch of them like that online, but
It's blank.
Dan Scores wants to
Yeah,
know
blank,
it's
good.
used.
No, you get to write in it
oh
yourself.
man, yeah.
And
Mhm,
whatever
yeah.
you do, if you're using a pen, make sure you don't have to don't misspell a word and you have to scratch it out or just leave it misspelt because yeah, I don't like that when I have to and I'm writing in there and I'm all of a sudden I'm like, well, okay. Because I don't want to have all that scratching in there. Yeah. You wanted to keep it kind of pristine, but
Mhm.
It just
All
makes
right.
it authentic.
yeah, it makes it
Yeah.
authentic. Exactly. So if you read
Mhm.
mine after I'm long gone and you find the misspelled word, hey, I messed up. Right. So,
It's all good.
all right. Thank you, Linda.
All right. Thank you.
All
Thanks,
right.
Linda.
So continuing on, we're heading over to the war room now. And this was pretty interesting part of the show as well. All the guys gathered up in there around the table and they were with Dr. Aaron Satosky.
Well, do we do the log
Mhm.
5?
No, that's coming up.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's coming up. Sorry. I know I got this, my order pictures in this particular
Oh,
order.
okay. No. Go. Sorry to mess you up there.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Yeah, whiteout. Yeah. No, I could use whiteout, I suppose. Dr. Aaron, who is actually a colleague and a friend of Dr. Ian Spooner, was on, another geoscientist. And they were looking at some wood samples, a piece of wood, and also a really interesting thing that they had brought from RF1. Now, RF1, if you notice, is right next to H8. And H8 is the one that they thought that was the caisson that had gone down, where they thought they had actually hit the chapel vault and pushed the chapel vault down deeper into the muck or the solution channel, whatever you want to call that down there, that it actually pushed it down and out of the way. And then the plug fell out and all that. So that is all in that same general area where the chapel vault supposedly is. So, and you heard Marty say something about RF1 being a place where it was very likely that they thought that they were in the money pit area, but it didn't go deep enough. So they had some wood samples from down there. One of the wood samples also was from Aladdin's Cave, but we didn't hear anything about that. Those samples that he evaluated, just the one that were for the two that were from RH1. And he talked about this, and I will probably say it's isotopes. I'm going to call them isotopes. Strontium, okay, and oxygen isotopes from the Oak Island wood samples. And these were the two pieces, and they were both. It was a pickaxe. Remember that pickaxe that came up out of RF1?
I'd forgotten about it totally.
Yeah, I had forgotten about it.
Yep.
Yeah, it came up in the spoils when they were dropping the hammer grab down there when they were pulling up the stuff out of RF1.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the things that came out of there, and a beam, and they cut a piece of that beam off. Now, he looked at those isotopes, and then somehow or another, they are able to look at a database, and they are able to actually track down where the wood or the item came from that had that particular set of isotopes.
Yep.
And I think this is absolutely amazing technology, but I'm so glad that they can actually do it. Now, they showed this little picture here. And this didn't really mean a whole lot to me. I mean, we were trying to get taking a look at the isotopes here, but it doesn't really, I grabbed the picture, but the most likely source region for the sample is where the O and SR isotope data overlap. Okay. I don't know. If you're into that science, you probably understand this a lot more, but again, it's kind of right over my head. But I grabbed the pictures anyway, just to show. And one of the things that he pointed out was that these things came from an area over by France and Italy area, somewhere in that general area. Now, why is that significant? We've had, again, so many people get on here and they talk about why do they keep finding wood? Oh my gosh, get rid of the wood. You know, where's the treasure? Norway also, yes, Zig, thank you. But why is this significant?
Well, I mean, who would be traveling back and forth between Italy and France and even the Holy Land? Like they said, the cross they thought passed through Italy. I mean, that's the Templars. To me, I was like, oh, great.
Yep.
more stronger and stronger evidence.
Yep. It also means that the wood is not, you're right. And I that's exactly where I went with it too, as the Templars. But it means that the wood was not from this area.
Correct.
Okay, so you take wood, it's not from this area. It's from somewhere else. How did it get there? Who brought it there? And why did they find it at 100 and whatever feet underground?
That's right. It's not like something washed into a swamp. This is 150 feet underground, and it didn't get there on its own.
Yep. So where does that take you? That takes you okay. Now, we do know, there's been talk about people they had a ship in the swamp. They dismantled the ship and they used all the stuff or whatever. Again, sorry, Jack Campbell, but I really don't think there's a ship in the swamp. But now they do bring wood with them on a ship. They're going to use some of the stuff locally, some of the wood that's local. They're also going to bring some with them.
Sailing ships had carpenters on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had to make a repair to a ship, there were tradespeople. It wasn't just all pirates and swashbucklers on ships.
Yep.
There were cooks, just like there's on any other ship, and there were carpenters and blacksmiths on ships.
Mm-hmm.
Had to be.
Yep.
So they brought either it was wood that they brought with them, or it was wood that they repaired something. But if you're going to need some beams and whatnot, and you've got some wood with you, I mean, that's how else would it have gotten there? I don't see any other.
If you knew you were going to be building tunnels and things like that when you got here, you probably brought lumber with you.
Yes, exactly. You're going to bring it with you. So I just think that, that's why I keep saying how important, the wood is that they're finding. They can also date it. We don't know. I don't know if we got dates on that. There may have been date. It wasn't in this particular find.
I don't think. It could be dated. But I'm not, if it is, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's the location more than anything.
Right.
And we know that, it wasn't brought over by anybody recent. So it had to be, searcher, pre-searcher.
Yep. Yeah. Southwest France, northern Italy to the coast of Norway, where he thinks the samples are from.
Yep.
Yep. Doug mentions to the group that the areas correspond to an area where the lead cross was from. Dun, dun, dun. The lead cross.
Yeah. And we know that the Templars traveled all over Europe too.
Yep.
So draw your own conclusions, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. You were going to say
I was just, it reminds me of the, or it peaks a lot of things that is happening in the Jerusalem book. What is it? The Jerusalem Files?
The Jerusalem Files.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. And folks, I tell you, if you haven't read that book already, if you haven't gotten that book yet, you really should check it out. I know I talk about it a lot, but
it's really enjoyable.
Good stuff.
I mean, when you think we were talking pre-show about my speculative timeline, and if you think about it, who was in Atlantic Canada when? Okay, well, the Vikings were here in the 1100s. We know the Vikings were here in the 1100s.
Yep.
Okay. When you get into the 1100, 1200s, it was the Vikings because they were here, they were floating around. Then you want to say, skip the 12, 13, 1400s for now. You get into the 1400s, you're talking guys like Columbus, who was Spanish, which is next door to Portugal, which makes total sense. You get into the 1500s, you've got the Portuguese and the Spanish. We know they were here, right? Christopher Columbus was here in the 1400s. You get into the 1600s, you've got, Champlain and or Bacon or the same person, depending on, if you listen to Jake Roberts. Phipps would have been all over the place. Phipps and Belcher would have been all over the place in the 1600s.
Yep.
1700s, the British and the French were here fighting each other for 100 years. So now you got to back up and you get into the 1300s, even into the 1400s. Who have we left out? Who had to get out of town in the 1300s?
Right.
The Templars.
Right?
Yeah.
The Templars, baby.
And who had a bunch of ships, an immense amount of wealth, who was, they were a great, is bureaucracy the right word? Because maybe that kind of belittles what they did, but they were so good. When, like with the Jerusalem Files, it's helped me understand just a lot of the achievements that they were able to do after the Crusades. Like, I didn't understand the profound impact they had on the cathedrals and how quickly these beautiful churches were built. Like, they had knowledge, they had means, they built beautiful
manpower
structures. There's nothing they couldn't do at this time. They were
when you think about it, if the Templars are getting ready to get out of town in the 1200s or start their new kingdom, 1307, they have to get out of town because they've been outlawed. Okay, so now you're into the 1400s and the 1500s. Well, the Templars had a base in Portugal. Portuguese Templars.
Yep.
I mean, you can almost put the timeline together. It's just a matter of what the heck were they doing here.
Yep.
And this might have something to do
with
it.
That book might have. I was just going to reach for mine because that book might have something to do with it.
And you have members from every nation, and I know some people get upset at the Templars. It wasn't Templars. Okay, well, the knowledge came from Templars, and The later groups, I think, were given that knowledge from the Templars. So for me, it's, I'm sure I upset people when I go, everything's the Templars, but
The
everything
knowledge
seems
got
to keep
passed
pointing
around
to it.
is the key thing. The
Mhm.
knowledge got passed around,
Yes, yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
which just
And
goes to
you
show
have
even in the 1300s they couldn't keep a secret.
right, and and even you go back to the whole Phipps and Belcher thing.
Hmm.
They may have had knowledge of this as well.
Sure. Well, they
So
were
if they
Masons.
were on Oak Island, it's very likely that they were on
Mhm.
Oak Island because of all the things that we found so far in Lot
Yep.
5. Is it likely that they knew about it as well? I think it
Mhm.
is. And
Sure.
maybe they were there looking. Who knows? Or they were looking for, hey, we can use that storehouse to hide our stuff.
Maybe they weren't there looking for the treasure, but they knew the facilities were there to hide a treasure.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people did know that there was facilities there to hide something. So
Mhm.
yeah, we have all these theories, and I've said this before, to where I think that we've looked at so many different timelines and all of this. Could all of them be a little bit have some truth in this? Could most all of
No
them have?
question. No question.
Yes, they could. It very
Mhm.
well could. They all
No
could
question.
have a portion in it. So everybody said, nope, it was the Portuguese. Nope, it was the British. Nope, it was Phipps
Well,
and Belcher.
yeah, and the thing is, if you could say that Oak Island was only ever used between the years 1250 and 1350, then
And
you
you
can
have
limit it.
this.
You can limit it. But
Yep.
we
Right.
can't say that. We can say we know Oak Island was used as early as 1200 and as late as 17, 1800.
Right.
So you can't say it was one person at one time because nobody lives that long.
No, exactly.
Yeah. I think all this speaks to how in my mind, at least, why the fellowship is so important, because the Laginas, I think so much of their success has been their ability to bring all these different researchers together, to mend to bring all these different camps in on it.
Mhm.
Bring the island under one vision. It sounds corny, but I feel like that it's.
Well, yeah, when you think about what's the, I forget the phrase now that Corian used. It was not that we're rewriting history; they're clarifying history or
Ooh, I
explaining
like
history,
that.
or I forget the
Explaining.
exact word.
Yeah,
Explaining
explaining
history.
history that we didn't already know.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. That's because I had brought that up. I asked him that question. Did this change North American history? And he goes, no, it explains
Hmm.
what really took
Oh,
place.
We're not rewriting it. The history's already been done.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah. It explains it all. So I thought that was a great,
Yep.
a great way to answer that question. So,
Mhm.
um, let's see. Oh, I was just jumping over. I jumped over on Rumble real quick just to let the folks over there know that if you want to chat, I can. I've got it up so I can read your chat over there. If you want to put something, it doesn't come across on YouTube, but at least I can acknowledge the chat if you have something you want to add to it. All right. So next, we're going to jump over to Lot 5. So let's head over there. Lot 5. And again, the lot that just keeps on giving and giving and
Mhm.
giving.
Lots
Um,
happening over there.
Yeah, and there is our wonderful archaeologist, and we're going to get Jamie back on the show. I got to
Mhm.
get talking
Yeah.
to her about that, to have her come back. She wants to. We're going to have her just come on and hang out with us a little bit and talk about one of the episodes. But I tell you what a cool job that they've had to work over here and come up with these finds. Now, at some point, you've heard recently. You've seen Marty go over there with the excavator, or the backhoe, basically, and reach in there and pull some of the big stones and stuff out. Obviously, they have gotten in, like Tom and I were talking about earlier, and they've reached in there and they've taken out some of the stuff in the bottom, because they keep talking about getting down to the bottom of this thing.
Mhm.
So we know that they did, and they piled this stuff over to the side over here. I'm assuming it's this pile over here off to the side that Gary and Jack are over taking a look at. And
Yeah, I think they just pulled all the stuff out of there that they know was fill.
right.
Because really, if it's just fill on top of whatever's in situ with the proper stuff that you want, it's just fill. I mean, it doesn't add anything to your timeline.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Linda. I'm not sure if that can. I don't think so. I'll just answer your question real quick there. But we know that the guys went over there and they got a chance to metal detect, and just like Tom just said, it was up toward the surface, and he didn't need to dig down very deep in there. But right off the bat, they find a button.
Yep.
I don't know if this was what they did. He call it a cuff button, or was it just a shirt button?
He called it a flat button originally, but then he made the comment that they found a lot of cuff buttons, especially around here.
Was it flap or flat button?
Flat, FLAT, I think.
Okay, I was hearing flap.
Okay.
So in my mind, I was like,
I
flat
just called them flat buttons because there were no ground on them or anything.
flat. That
Flat.
makes more sense. Yeah.
Right. And then moments later, they found another one,
Yeah.
and he was holding it up, and he said this one was. He called it a flat button. He called this one a it had a design on it. You can kind of see a little bit of
Artillery,
the design. Yeah. And he said, it was military. It was definitely a military button of some sort. He said something about cannons.
Mhm.
So what I did was I decided to see if I could pull up something and find something along this lines, and I found this one.
Oh.
Now, and I got a picture here of both of them together. I think this one is very close to what it was that he found. Because and I'll point out the three dots across the top, which are cannonballs, I guess, and then the three cannons.
Mhm.
And then I came across this here, and so I put the two side by side as best I could. I was trying to get a better enhancement. Maybe we can get to that at some point. Somebody could do a grab that one that Gary was holding there. I didn't get a good snapshot of it. I
No,
think
this is
this
great,
is really
Phil.
close there because you can see you got the three buttons across here are cannonballs, and then here they are here,
Yeah.
here, and here. The three cannonballs are across the top. And if you notice right here, you've got your spokes, and you got spokes right there. So I think this is probably pretty close to what this one was.
Mhm.
Now, this one was being touted on there. Yeah, it looks like a match to me, David. Thank you. But it's talked about it being a Royal Artillery
Right.
Artillery for the British.
Mhm.
Now, I
You
didn't get
Okay.
a
You
date.
can also look them up and you find them listed as ordnance buttons.
Yeah, ordnance.
Hmm.
Right, to me, that's a little ordnance is a little bit different than artillery. Ordnance would be the people that are looking after the ammunition, preparing the powder, preparing the shot, preparing that type of thing, which makes you wonder what was that, lot 5 being used for. I mean, I know this is from the fill,
Mm-hmm.
but was someplace on the island were they storing ammunition?
Let's see. Somebody April just asked what was the date on this, and I'm just looking to see.
1690 would have been the when they first came out with the ordnance buttons. I looked it up.
Yeah, you're saying
But
1700s.
Gary
right?
said 1700s or perhaps older, anywhere from 17 to 1800
Somewhere in that range.
or earlier. He said.
I mean, so what does that tell us? Have they found a bunch of these type buttons around, or I mean, does that mean that this was a strictly a military encampment there at Lot 5, or I mean,
Well,
I
see,
think
this
it
is
was the
Phil.
military that covered it up.
Could be.
I think they used it, and then when they were done with it, they covered it up. But it's older than the people, just like what Rick was talking about in the same episode of the multiple generational use. I don't think the military made this structure, but I suspect it was whoever.
And they brought that fill from somewhere. So this is something, not something
Mhm.
they dropped while they were inhabiting that structure. Right. This was fill.
Yeah.
Now, what did Jamie say about that, Phil?
Mhm.
Jamie made a comment about that,
Yep.
Phil, having come from the money pit.
Hundreds of feet down.
Why
Well,
would
when
have
they
done
found that soil, they call it concrete lake. I don't think it's concrete personally, but that material that they say
Okay.
matched the money pit. So somebody was, and when you think about it, you're really going to go to an extent to hide something. The money pit distance from Lot 5 has got to be over half a mile. So they're willing to haul this stuff for a half a mile.
it had to be an important reason that they did that. I mean,
You don't want it seen on top of the hill where you're doing your mining, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, I saw Jake just put up Bacon used 3 cannons as a cipher signature. Really
Interesting.
Could be.
There you go. That's the
I
stuff.
mean,
Jake would know.
somebody designed the button with the 3 cannons and the 3 dots. So there's got to be a purpose behind the design.
Yeah.
If those 3 dots were going to be like in a triangle, I was going to think it reminded me of what the again the Jerusalem Files when the British team was
Mhm.
Underneath the Temple Mount, and on one of the doors they saw the 3 dots. What was that called? Is it Solomon's Triangle?
Yes, I think
Or
so.
something? But it means like treasure here or something.
Yeah.
But the line of it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But that what Jake said is interesting. I want to look that up.
That's how the Romans operated on the march. Every night they would build a fort, or every night they built a fort complete with ditches and ramparts, and every morning dismantled it and returned the ground to the former, its former state.
That's interesting.
Yeah. To
But
cover
they
the
wouldn't have
tracks.
hauled. But they wouldn't have hauled soil from a half a mile away to fill the hole in.
You wouldn't think so.
They just filled the hole back in, right?
Right, with what they took out of it.
Mm.
Used and covered.
I don't know. I mean, for some reason, somebody decided they're going to haul material around that island for a half a mile.
Crazy. That's crazy.
But then again, they moved boulders all over the place too. So
Yeah, they did. And for a very good reason.
Mhm.
And I go back to that whole thing. Nolan's Cross was not made for the fun of it.
no.
It was definitely put there for a purpose.
Mhm.
The purpose was to help identify, I think, where the money pit was, so they could find it later on to come back and retrieve their treasure. So, all right, we continue on. You remember this guy here,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Emiliano? They had a little war room session, and they brought him on, and or this was actually in the research center. And it was Rick and Marty and Judy were meeting with Emiliano on the video conference to discuss the carbon dating results from Dr. Spooner that were performed on the tree stump and found. Rick tells the group that I did get this. I forgot about that. That the testing samples were 54.1% from a range of 1346 to 1396.
Mhm.
And then
So
you
that's
got
when someone cut that, right?
That's when it was alive. Yes.
Alive, or when the wood was cut?
Well, you can figure the end of its life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It didn't.
Cool.
It stopped growing at that point.
Yes,
So
that's-
it could have
that's-
been 100 years before they actually used it.
But there weren't farmers like at that time on the island, right?
No.
Cutting trees and for clearing their fields and stuff.
Lots on Oak Island weren't even surveyed till mid 1700s.
Right. Okay. Word.
Yeah, and 41% from a range of 1296 to 1328.
Wow.
So there you go, right there. That's over 90% that it takes it from 1296 to 1396.
Okay, so from 1296 to 1346, who had to get out of Dodge?
Who had to get out of Dodge? Yes.
And who was getting ready to create their own world kingdom anyway?
A New Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Do the math, people.
Yeah, I'm serious. You're right. And also if you remember, Emiliano was working with that gentleman that, and I've lost for his name real quick, but Professor Gaspani, who was looking at he was the one that was looking at the Nolan's Cross and then matching it to the stars, and lining that up with the stars overhead from that same time period. And he also said that overhead the stars would have been visible and around the 1200s. So again, you've got that same to start. Yes, coach, star alignment. So
for everybody out there, what do you think? What type of wood do you think that is?
Yeah, we took our guess. I think I know what it is. Yeah. What type of wood do you think that is, folks? I'll zoom it in so you can get a better look.
Dead wood.
It's dead. Yes, it is. Red oak. I don't know about red oak, maybe, but no. It's oak. Oh, a lot of people are saying oak. I thought
depend on which way the grain on that wood is running.
Yeah.
To me, it looks like it's laying on its side, which means the rings are going sideways.
Yep.
Or rings are going around the tree, I guess, horizontally, laterally.
Yep.
And oak tree wouldn't be like that. Oak tree, the bark would be smooth and up and down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or a maple tree as well would be smoother.
Yeah, I thought, and I jumped out with well, you said it first. Tom said it first. Birch,
Looks like birch to me.
a birch.
Yeah, I can see that.
And because I know up in Michigan, there's a couple of different types of birch. There's white and yellow and whatnot. And the white has the paper peels off from it. That's where you heard of birch parchments. But the yellow doesn't really peel like that as much. So birch is skinnier. Yeah, just my guess. But I thought birch was a good guess. But yeah,
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean birch tree. I mean birch trees will grow in moist areas as well. I
Mhm.
mean, even though they're hardwood, they'll grow in moist areas.
Yep. Looks like cork.
They call them hardwood, but really they're not hard like an oak or a maple.
No. All right. One of the things too, with this, they so much from Emiliano that came back, and again, everything was around that 12 to 100 time frame. One of the things that he had mentioned, and this was something that was, I think it was brought up on the show quite some time ago, and then brought up again, was the cairns, the stone cairns. Now, I had forgotten all about these things. Now, was that now a cairn was some sort of a pyramidal shape of stone stacked up?
Yeah, to me, it's a marker made with using a pile of rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there was a couple of them on the island, and I heard them mentioned once, but I had forgotten all about them. But so he wanted to get a GPS coordinates of those, and for Professor Gaspani to then use those and add that to his star chart that he was looking at. And I forgot that maybe it's in here. I should look at my notes here because I know 3 shown on Nolan's map. Okay. Forming a triangle. Let's see. Do the calculations on 2 other stone features on the island to see if there's a connection between the time they were created and when Nolan's Cross was created. These 2 features are stone triangle, the south shore, on the south shore, which is believed to point to the original money pit, and 5 stone cairns on lot 15 that were documented by Fred Nolan in the 1960s and believed to point towards the swamp. So it'd be interesting to see what he comes up with. You're muted, Tom. Oh,
it's why do you think they needed so many markers? Because last week we followed the site stones from, the marking, from the cones and
the drilled stones.
The drilled stones. Thank you. That Christopher, set them on, and and then they say, I've always been intrigued by the stone triangle, because to me it didn't make sense why they would make it that obvious of like, go this way, here's a big arrow. But I don't know why. Do y'all have any?
Well, the other thing too is those stone cairns are at the highest point on Oak Island. That's 52
Yeah, you were
feet.
saying
Yeah, lot 15. Yep.
52 feet in elevation. So you could line those stones up to be seen from anywhere, or use them to line up to go anywhere on the island. At 52 feet, it's 20 feet higher than the money pit.
So you're up there, and then you use those cairns to mark points of interest on the island, or kind of point it out to you.
I mean, they made these piles of rocks up on the highest point on the island for some reason.
Yeah, I that's a good point, Dean. It's possible that
hauling rocks uphill is not easy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah. Zane said he put something out on Discord. Zane, if you could send that to me, because I don't have Discord open at the moment, but if you want me to show that, the Discord channel, it's linked down below in the description of the show. It's my Discord channel that I started a while back, and we hang out in there on Tuesday nights and do a little watch party on the show. We watch the show, not on Discord, but everybody watches it at home, and we talk about it and everything. And Tom is in there generally hanging out with us, and Seth comes in, and we just have some fun. Okay, thank you. So we just have some fun hanging in there and talking about, okay, it's up 24/7. Folks can go in there and talk anytime you want. And there's Yeah, there's different channels in there for Skinwalker Ranch,
Yeah.
and Oak Island, and stuff like that, and you can
Yeah, we
talk.
talk about Bigfoot even in the Beyond Our World
Oh, yeah, all
channel.
that stuff.
It's
Yeah.
fun.
So yeah, so it's a lot of fun. Discord's free. It says it doesn't cost you anything. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Oh, here it is. Looking at the picture Zane just sent. Oh, stone. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, let me bring this up real quick. All right, I'm gonna open this up. Yeah, you know what? I should have realized this because I actually have this picture, this poster myself. Thanks to Jan. But pirate stone piles. That's them right there, I believe. Right? Is that the ones we're talking about right there? Yeah. So yeah, they were there. And there was some other stuff that was there, also, which was very interesting, which is this picture right here. Uh, and they're listed on here as well. But the other thing that was this is where they got into the point on the show, and they were talking about the stone triangle that was actually obliterated later on by Robert Dunfield and the work that he was doing on the island.
Yep.
But at least it was shown on this here. This is it right down here. Here's the stone triangle down by South Shore. So they did actually capture it. And this was another one of those survey maps that just kind of blows me away. And did we figure out who did Fred Nolan make this one?
Yeah, if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, it says F. Nolan. Or bottom right-hand corner, sorry. You just see it at the very, very, very
yeah, right here.
right there.
Yeah. Okay.
F.
Yeah.
Nolan.
F. Nolan. And we know that he was very, very good surveyor at the time. Yeah, some of the survey maps that he made were just crazy. So I thought it was really interesting that this thing, and of course, Zane took this thing and kind of went and did his own his own looking around and adding this to. Now we have so many different survey maps, and we can overlay them on top of one another, and it's very interesting how they all seem to line up pretty darn well. And marking some of the very important places like the cave-in pit, and then of course you got the garden shaft, and here's what I thought was really cool right here: the Smith's home in 1804.
Yep.
And how close it sat right there on the money pit flat area.
Yep.
And I had a little video where I put a little house on a picture of the money pit to show you where it was sitting, how close it was to all of the action. Could you imagine having the actual original money pit right outside in your side yard of your house? But yeah, Zane pointed out one other thing too on this, and he said, "Am I crazy or am I seeing a menorah?"
It sure looks like it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
The straight arms and everything.
straight arm menorah. Where's Christopher Morford and Corey and Mole? But yeah, so interesting work that Zane is. Yeah, call him and tell him we found the menorah on Oak Island, right? Yeah, just like the one and that's also something that's talked about in their book. So the straight arm menorah.
Yep.
But interesting.
Yes, they are. Yep. Renee makes a good point.
So
So the Oak Island people have Corian and we have Zane. So there you go.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, we're gonna do some at some point, and I know I keep saying this, but we're gonna get Zane on the show. We're gonna talk about once we get some of he's got some 3D renders that he's put together, showing all the different some of the anomalies in the money pit. The seismic anomalies combined with the muon technologies anomalies that are down there. And he puts those up in Discord quite often too. So if you want to see those, you can check them out. But yeah, he's off on a mission, and he's making some pretty interesting maps for us and overlays for us that really help out, because like I said before, I'm really visual. I need to see things so I can kind of put them all together in my head, and that just helps to be able to visualize where things are. Here's a picture real quick that I've got a couple of different ones of these stone piles, these pirate stone piles, they were called.
Hmm.
Um, and again, I don't know why they were called that, but given that particular name, but they were piles that were out there. Working on Aladdin's in the swamp soon. Okay, in 3D. All right, good deal. Well, when you get that done, let us know.
It'd be kind of nice to flip a couple of those rocks over and see what's underneath them for wood.
I know. Where else have we seen piles of rocks? Pine tar kiln, the quadrilateral that was brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Quadrilateral was brought up on the show last night. So, and again, somebody asked that question: why so many? Maybe because some would get washed away or be lost over time. I don't know. Maybe it was somebody else coming back later and making another way to find it.
Right. Yeah. As I was kind of thinking more about it, if you have multiple depositors, each one would kind of have their own way of marking it as well.
Yep. Or just somebody came back, like you say, Seth, somebody came back, knew where the island was, and the stone ramps and everything else were there, so they used them.
Yeah.
Could be totally unrelated to activity that anybody else did hundreds of years before or after.
Right. Yeah, and here's a picture, and this was the stone. This is not the original stone triangle. This was a recreation of where it was technically, where it was sitting down there. So, and they're talking about. So, if we can get those added to Professor Gaspani's maps, where he's looking at the star charts and stuff. Let's find out what they may be significant. They may not have any significance at all, but they may. And I can't wait to see what he comes up with.
Me too. I'm excited.
Very interesting. Lastly, the last part of the show, they jumped over into the war room once again, and they were talking a little bit about the storm that was coming and how important it was for the safety and everything, and everybody make sure they were buttoned up. Now, we know now, fortunately, that the storm kind of turned. It went inland, didn't it? Go up through like the Bay of Fundy through that area?
Up the Bay of Fundy. Went across the southern tip of Nova Scotia and went skirted up through the Bay of Fundy and out that way. It's still, it went to post-tropical, which, a lot of people think, oh, post-tropical, well, it's not a hurricane. Well, the only difference between a post-tropical storm and a hurricane is the eye isn't as well formed. The winds can still be hurricane force winds.
Yep, exactly. Exactly right.
And I had at one time.
I wanted to ask. Go ahead.
What do I do with it here?
I'm going to jump back and ask a question about Lot 5 again, and the things that were found there.
Where did I put that?
Lot 5 had the military. We found so many items there from the Phipps, that relate to Phipps. They found the beads, the Phoenician beads,
Right.
and now we found all kinds of coins over there, but not the coins. I don't think were all found right there by this what was the circular feature, and now military buttons, a lot of pottery and stuff. So what does that tell you? Who does that? I mean, does that? I was all about the Phipps idea that Phipps was there. Would Phipps have anything to do with the military buttons? Would there be a connection there? Or like you said, maybe the military came back and covered that up or something. I don't know. How does that?
Well,
now it's kind of jumbled for me.
The military was definitely all over the Maritimes in the 1700s.
Oh, absolutely.
Phipps was 1600s, right? So a little bit earlier. The Loyalists were 1770, 1773, which is a lot of people going back and forth, the French, the Acadians, and the expulsion and everything else. Champlain was here early 1600s. 1604, he put a settlement down on the Bay of Fundy and the St. Croix Island. So Champlain was all over the place. So who was here when doing what? I mean, it's kind of a mumbo jumbo, really. I mean, there's a lot of people in that 1500, 1700 range that could have had access to Oak Island.
Yep. And I was so convinced, okay, Belcher and Phipps are the ones that were messing around on Lot 5 over there. Now I'm not so sure.
And they could have been. I mean, they had access to British. They were they were brought on by the British Crown.
Wasn't
they
the
were hired by the
military
British Crown to come over with their expedition and get things. So I
Yeah.
mean, could those people have had, those type of buttons? Sure.
Mhm. Yeah, Ray asked, wasn't the military after Phipps? Yes.
Mhm.
Yep. So I don't know. It's it just that kind of threw the monkey wrench into it. I was all set to say Phipps, and then all of a sudden, now we
Phipps was 16. Phipps was what? 1687,
yeah,
Maybe Phipps built it.
right?
right, yeah,
Well,
very well could have.
maybe they're traveling back and forth after that. 1687 was when he first brought the silver up off the Concepcion, right?
Yep.
And then he went to Britain, got made a gentleman or whatever they did to him, and that's after that's when he brought Belcher on board, and
Right.
they went back for another trip.
Right. And so, and then the British were, we were colonizing America at that point, and Nova Scotia was initially supposed to be part of the original 13 colonies.
It was going to be one of the original 13. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
come on, guys. What happened?
so I'm starting to put this all together. So yeah, I can see where there would have been the British could have been going back up
The
there.
British Ordnance button originated in 1690.
So that's Phipps era.
So I mean, they're all in the wheelhouse. You can't rule them out.
I know, and that's the thing. I want to rule them out. I want to be able to
I'm
say,
saying if you break it down into 100-year segments, there's a
Like
piece
you
of the
did.
piece of pie for everyone.
yeah, and you did that very well. Thank you for doing that, by the way. So all right. Well, I don't have any pictures for next time because I didn't capture them. I actually there was no commercial at the end of when I rewatched the show today. So what do we have for next week? What do you guys remember? Any of the highlights from next
Nope.
week's show? I've forgotten already.
I missed
Oh,
it.
it's
And
gonna
I
be a
didn't see the
surprise.
commercial.
It's going to be a surprise. So I tell you what. But anyway, folks, we're here every Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time for the Curse of Oak Island series, and we will continue on. What do we have? About 8? We're figuring maybe about 8 episodes left, something like that.
Wow.
We just
It
did
was
16,
so
24, 25-ish, something like that.
throw in a couple of extras for digging down, digging deeper, or digging sideways, or whatever you want to call it.
Yep. Colin will be with us next week. We got Jamie will come. We're going to have Jamie back on the show. And I've already started talking to some of the folks from the island, like Laird and Ian and different people like that about coming back on the show and talking to us. We always like to wait on them toward the end of the season. No sense having any of the people from the episode that are cast members on the show. No sense of having them on too soon because they can't talk about anything that hasn't aired. So that's why we generally start to wait toward the end of the season, have those guys on the show. We'll be doing some interesting things over the summer months too about Oak Island, and we'll have some more tour people that have been out there for the tours and all of that kind of stuff as well. So we got a lot of Oak Island yet to talk about, and I can't wait until we get to see the top of that tunnel and break into that baby at the bottom of the garden shaft. So anything else you can think of, guys? Any other highlights that we didn't catch tonight on the show?
I liked, you guys know I'm into the, supernatural, weird woo-woo stuff. I loved that Marty, of course we know the hurricane turned, but I love that Marty was referencing the weird, strange forces that seem to, every time they get close, seems to kind of push that finish line just a little bit out of reach. Yeah. And I think it really speaks to, like the narrator said, I think it speaks to kind of the profoundness of what is potentially down there.
That's an element that cannot be ignored. Simply cannot be ignored. But you're right. Every time they get so close, something happens to push it a little bit further away, push away that finish line, and they just can't quite get there. So I don't know. I mean,
it's frustrating.
It is. Yeah, and I'm not one that believes in the whole curse thing. I wish they'd stop talking about that.
No, I don't like that.
The 7 must die. I just wish they would stop that. That just, to me, that, and Marty does not believe it. He even said it on the show. I don't believe in the curse. So anyway, so we'll be here next week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And also don't forget that on the 7th, we have Jeremy Church from Panther Geoscience. He's going to be joining us. He's going to talk about all that stuff and the ship shape anomaly and all that kind of stuff that's on that they through the testing that they have done, and he's got some really cool overlay, or not overlays, but pictures that he's going to share with us. Share with us that talk about the tunnels, natural or man-made, or were they natural used by man?
Mm-hmm.
So he's got some interesting information. So you're going to want to tune in on the 7th for that. And don't forget, also, we'll be doing some Skinwalker Ranch stuff coming up here pretty quick too. So we'll get that fired up. As well. So yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to that as well. All right, folks, that's it for us. We'll catch you next time right here on the J Free 906 podcast. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Jan.
All right. Thanks, Jan.